Hello, my name is Luna, and I welcome you to Stories for Sleepless Nights. Here, we share captivating tales from history, mythology, nature, biographies, philosophy, and many other topics. Each story is crafted to help you unwind and drift into a peaceful sleep. If there is a story you would like to hear, please share your ideas in the comments below. Remember to follow us on Spotify and YouTube so you never miss an episode. Tonight, we will explore the fascinating world of the Maya civilization. This ancient culture holds many mysteries. It reached incredible achievements, and its story of lasting legacy is very compelling. Now let us prepare for rest. Please take a few deep breaths. Feel your breath move in and out of your body. Focus on the gentle rhythm of your breathing. Allow your eyes to softly close. Let your mind and body relax. Prepare yourself for a peaceful night of sleep. Our journey into the Maya civilization begins not with grand pyramids, but with its ancient roots. This earliest time is called the Preclassic period. It stretched for a very long time, from about 2,000 years before the Common Era to about 250 years into the Common Era. During these early years, people first began to move into the fertile lands of Mesoamerica. They started to settle down, laying the groundwork for the great Maya culture that would later emerge. At first, these people lived by hunting animals and gathering wild plants. They moved from place to place, following food sources. But a big change came with the discovery of agriculture. The most important crop was maize, which we call corn. Growing corn meant that people no longer had to constantly move. They could plant seeds, tend their crops, and harvest food right where they lived. This allowed them to build permanent homes and create settled villages. With a steady food supply, populations grew larger. More hands meant more work could be done, and communities became stronger. Before the Maya fully blossomed, another great civilization deeply influenced the region. This was the Olmec civilization. Many scholars call the Olmecs a mother culture because their ideas spread widely. The Olmecs were known for their amazing art, like the huge stone heads they carved, some standing taller than a man and weighing many tons. They also developed early forms of writing and complex ways of organizing their society. These Olmec innovations likely inspired the early Maya. For example, the Maya later used similar ideas for monumental sculptures, and even some early concepts for their famous calendars. As the early Maya communities grew, their societies began to change. Simple villages slowly became more complex. The first signs of a social ladder appeared, with some people holding more power than others. Religious leaders played a very important role, guiding their communities and helping them understand the world around them. People started to develop basic crafts. They learned to make pottery for cooking and storing food. They also wove textiles to make clothes and blankets. Simple trade networks began to form, allowing villages to exchange goods like salt, tools, and decorative items. Over time, these settled communities started to build more than just homes. They constructed their first ceremonial centers. These were not just a few buildings, but large, planned complexes. Sites like Nakb and El Mirador show how skilled these early builders were. At El Mirador, for instance, they built massive pyramids that rose hundreds of feet into the air. These were incredibly sophisticated engineering feats for their time, showing a great deal of organization and effort. This period was a long, gradual process of cultural development. It laid the foundation for all the incredible achievements that would define the classic Maya period. The long process of development in the Preclassic period set the stage for a truly remarkable era. This was the classic Maya period, often called their Golden Age. It spanned from about 250 years after the Common Era to around 900 years after the Common Era. During these centuries, the Maya civilization reached its peak. Instead of one big empire, the Maya world was a collection of powerful city-states. Each one acted like its own independent country, with its own rulers and armies. These cities often traded with each other, but they also fought many wars. Some of the most famous of these city-states included Tikal, Palenque, Copan, and Calakmul. Tikal, located in what is now Guatemala, was one of the largest and most powerful. Its huge pyramids rose high above the jungle canopy. Palenque, in Mexico, was known for its elegant architecture and intricate carvings. Copan, in Honduras, was famous for its detailed stone monuments called stelae. Calakmul, also in Mexico, was a major rival of Tikal and their conflicts shaped much of the classic period. Each city had its own distinct style and history, contributing to the rich tapestry of Maya culture. During this golden age, the Maya made incredible advancements in many fields. They were brilliant astronomers. They watched the stars and planets with great care, tracking their movements across the sky. They could predict events like eclipses of the sun and moon with amazing accuracy. In mathematics, they developed a sophisticated system. They understood the concept of zero, a very advanced idea for their time. They also used a number system based on 20, which helped them keep track of large numbers and long periods of time. Their writing system was complex, using hieroglyphs, which are picture-like symbols. They carved these symbols onto stone monuments called stelae to record important events, the reigns of their kings, and religious dates. The architecture of the classic Maya period was truly monumental. They built towering pyramids that reached hundreds of feet into the sky. These pyramids were not just big buildings, they were temples, places for their gods, and tombs for their rulers. Alongside the pyramids, they constructed elaborate temples, grand palaces for their kings, and special ball courts where they played a ritualistic game. One outstanding example is the Temple of the Inscriptions at Palenque. This temple served as the funerary monument for King Pakal the Great. Inside, a hidden staircase led down to his elaborately carved sarcophagus. These structures were central to Maya society and religion, showing their deep devotion and advanced engineering skills. Maya art and craftsmanship were also highly developed. They created detailed carvings on stone monuments and wooden panels. They painted colorful murals on the walls of their buildings, depicting scenes of gods, kings, battles, and daily life. They worked with precious materials like jade, crafting beautiful masks, jewelry, and figurines. Their ceramics were finely made, often decorated with intricate designs and painted images. These art forms were not just for beauty, they also told stories. They recorded history, glorified rulers, and illustrated their complex religious beliefs. Classic Maya society had a clear social order. At the very top were the divine kings, known as Kayuhal-Ajo. They were seen as direct links to the gods and held immense power. Their families and royal courts lived in luxury. Below them were powerful priests who performed religious rituals and advised the king. Scribes were highly respected as they could read and write the complex hieroglyphic script. Warriors protected the city-states and led battles. Artisans created the beautiful art and architecture, while farmers worked the land to feed the population. At the very bottom were slaves, often war captives or criminals. Every person had a role, and religion, politics, and daily life were deeply connected in these thriving city-states. The deep connection between religion, politics, and daily life in Maya society was reflected in their incredible achievements, especially in their understanding of time. The Maya carefully tracked time using not just one, but 3 interconnected calendar systems. One was the Tzolk'in, a sacred calendar with 260 days. This calendar was used for religious rituals, naming children, and predicting important events. Another was the Hab, a civil calendar of 365 days, much like our own yearly calendar. It followed the solar year and was important for agriculture, telling farmers when to plant and harvest. These 2 calendars worked together like meshing gears. They created a larger cycle of 52 years, after which the same Tzolk'in and Hab dates would align again. But the Maya also had a monumental long count calendar. This calendar tracked very long periods of time, counting days from a mythical starting point far in the past. It allowed them to record vast spans of history and astronomical events. When people heard about the Maya calendar ending in 2012, it was often misunderstood. For the Maya, the end of a long count cycle did not mean the end of the world. Instead, it marked the completion of a grand era and the beginning of a new one, a time for renewal and change. Their writing system was another marvel. It was a complex script made up of both pictures and sound symbols, called hieroglyphs. Scribes, who were highly respected members of society, painstakingly carved these symbols onto stone monuments, painted them on pottery, and wrote them in special books called codices. These writings recorded the history of their kings, their religious rituals, astronomical observations, and prophecies. For a long time, the script was a mystery, but scholars worked hard to decipher it. Now, we can read many of these texts, giving us deep insights into Maya history, their daily lives, and their profound beliefs. Sadly, most of the bark paper codices were destroyed during the Spanish conquest, with only a few surviving today. The Maya also played a ritualistic ball game, which they called pits. This was far more than just a sport. It was a sacred event, often held in large stone courts that were central to their cities. Players used their hips, elbows, or knees to hit a heavy rubber ball through a stone ring set high on a wall. The game had deep religious and political meaning, sometimes reenacting myths or settling disputes between city-states. The stakes were incredibly high. Sometimes the losing team, or even the winning captain, was sacrificed to the gods. At the heart of Maya life were their complex religious beliefs. They worshipped a vast pantheon of gods connected to nature, like the sun god, the moon goddess, the rain god, and the maize god, who gave them their most important crop. They believed in a cosmic world with a layered heaven above and a dark underworld, Xibalba, below. They thought the universe moved in cycles of creation and destruction. To maintain balance and appease their gods, the Maya performed many rituals and ceremonies. These often included bloodletting, where rulers and priests would offer their own blood as a sacrifice. Animal sacrifices were also common, and in some important ceremonies, human sacrifice took place. The Popol Vuh, a sacred book of the Kayach Maya, tells many of their creation myths and stories of their gods and heroes. Beyond their cities and religious practices, the Maya built an extensive network of trade. They exchanged goods with other Maya cities and even with distant Mesoamerican cultures, sometimes hundreds of miles away. Precious items like obsidian for tools and weapons, jade for jewelry and offerings, and salt were traded. Cacao beans, which were used to make chocolate, were so valuable they sometimes served as currency. Beautiful feathers from exotic birds were also highly prized. These trade networks brought prosperity to the Maya cities and allowed for the spread of new ideas and cultural influences across the region. The Maya civilization, with its complex calendars, intricate writing, and vast trade networks, achieved incredible heights. But then, a great mystery unfolded. Around the 10th century CE, many of the grand cities in the southern lowlands, like Tikal and Palenque, began to decline. They were slowly abandoned or became much smaller. This was not a sudden disappearance of the Maya people, but rather a complex, regional process that historians call the classic Maya collapse. Scientists and researchers have spent many years trying to understand what happened. One of the main ideas points to environmental problems. Studies of ancient lake beds and cave formations show that the Maya experienced several severe droughts. These were long periods with very little rain, sometimes lasting for decades. At the same time, the growing Maya population needed more and more land for farming, and more wood for building and cooking. This led to massive deforestation, where forests were cut down at a rapid pace. The soil also became exhausted from constant farming without proper rest, making it less fertile and harder to grow enough food. These environmental issues brought widespread famine and a severe shortage of resources like food and water. Another important factor was warfare. Evidence from carvings on stone monuments and the discovery of fortified cities shows that conflicts between rival city-states became more frequent and intense. Kings would often boast about capturing enemy rulers in their inscriptions. This constant fighting disrupted the important trade routes that connected Maya cities, making it difficult for people to get essential goods like obsidian and salt. Farmers could not safely work their fields, which made the food shortage even worse. This cycle of violence and instability weakened the entire region. Overpopulation also played a role. The Maya cities had grown very large, with hundreds of thousands of people living in the southern lowlands. These large populations put an unsustainable pressure on the land and its resources. More people meant more mouths to feed, more trees to cut, and more demand for water, which only made the environmental problems like drought and soil exhaustion more severe. Political instability and internal strife also contributed to the decline. As times became harder, the power of the divine kings and the ruling elite might have weakened. People might have lost faith in their leaders, especially if the kings could not bring rain or end the wars. there might have been peasant revolts or struggles for power within the cities. A fragile political system, already strained by environmental and social challenges, could not hold itself together. While less conclusive, some researchers also consider the possibility of widespread disease or other unforeseen factors. However, the strongest evidence points to a combination of problems. Modern scholars generally agree that no single cause led to the collapse. Instead, several of these factors, prolonged droughts, deforestation, soil exhaustion, increased warfare, overpopulation, and political instability, all interacted in a complex feedback loop. One problem made another worse, pushing the Maya civilization in the southern lowlands past its breaking point. It is important to remember that the Maya people did not simply vanish. While many of the great cities in the southern lowlands were abandoned, the Maya adapted and shifted. Many moved north to the Yucatan Peninsula, where new cities and cultures would rise, demonstrating the incredible resilience of their civilization. Their story of decline in the south was a story of transformation, not disappearance. As the great cities of the southern lowlands faced decline, the Maya people showed remarkable strength. They did not disappear. Instead, they adapted and found new ways to thrive. This period, known as the Postclassic period, stretched from about 900 CE to 1500 CE. During this time, while the South saw its grand centers fade, new and powerful cities began to grow in the northern Yucatan Peninsula. These new centers became very important. Cities like Chichen Itza, Mayapan, and Cholum rose to prominence. The architecture and culture in these northern cities showed some changes from the classic period. There was often a greater focus on building defensive structures like walls and fortresses to protect against attacks. The way these cities were governed also seemed to be more focused on earthly power and less on the divine rule of kings. One of the most noticeable shifts in the Postclassic period was the strong influence from Central Mexican cultures, especially the Toltecs. This influence can be clearly seen in the art, buildings, and religious practices at places like Chichen Itza. For example, carvings show warriors that look very similar to those found in Toltec sites. You can also see the Chacmool statues, which are figures of a reclining person holding a bowl on their stomach, a style that came from central Mexico. The feathered serpent imagery, which represents the god Kukulkan to the Maya and Quetzalcoatl to the Toltecs, became much more common and prominent. Scholars still debate whether this influence came from a military conquest, peaceful cultural exchange, or if the Maya simply adopted these foreign styles because they found them appealing or powerful. The political landscape of the Postclassic period also changed. For many centuries, a powerful group called the League of Mayapan held sway over the Yucatan. This was a confederation, a group of independent cities that worked together, with Mayapan as its central power. However, like many alliances, it eventually broke apart. This led to the reemergence of smaller, independent city-states, each governing itself and often competing with its neighbors. Even after the classic collapse, the Maya held onto their deep intellectual traditions. They continued to produce codices, which are bark paper books filled with their history, prophecies, and knowledge. Only a few of these survived, such as the Dresden, Madrid, and Paris codices, but they show that the Maya kept refining their calendrical and astronomical knowledge. They continued to track the movements of the stars and planets and to use their complex calendar systems. This shows the incredible resilience of Maya culture. By the time the Europeans arrived in the early 16th century, the Maya were not a single, unified empire. Instead, they were a collection of independent kingdoms and city-states. Some of these were still thriving and powerful, while others were already in decline. This fragmented political landscape would play a significant role in their future encounters with the arriving Spanish. By the early 16th century, a new and powerful force arrived on the shores of the Yucatan Peninsula. Spanish conquistadors, led by men like Francisco de Montijo and his son, also named Francisco, began to explore and claim these lands. Their arrival marked a dramatic turning point for the Maya people. The initial encounters between the Spanish and the various Maya kingdoms were often filled with wonder and fear. The Spanish brought with them tools and weapons completely unknown to the Maya. They wore armor made of steel that deflected Maya arrows and spears. They carried firearms that made loud noises and fired deadly projectiles from a distance. perhaps most striking were their horses, large animals that carried warriors swiftly across the land, appearing like mythical beasts to those who had never seen them. The Maya, as we learned, were not a single unified empire, but a collection of independent, often competing city-states. This fragmented political landscape became a great disadvantage for them. When the Spanish arrived, they were able to use these rivalries to their benefit. They would sometimes form alliances with one Maya group against another, weakening the overall resistance and conquering one kingdom at a time. Even more devastating than the Spanish weapons was something invisible: disease. The Europeans carried illnesses like smallpox, measles, and influenza. The Maya people had no natural immunity to these old world diseases. When the sicknesses spread, they swept through communities like wildfire, killing many people. Entire villages were decimated. These epidemics caused immense suffering and greatly weakened the Mayas' ability to fight back against the invaders. The Spanish conquest of the Yucatan was not a swift victory. It was a prolonged and brutal process that lasted for many decades. The Maya put up fierce resistance, fighting bravely to defend their homes and their way of life. There were many battles, and the Maya often used their knowledge of the dense jungle terrain to their advantage. However, the Spanish, with their superior weapons and the devastating impact of disease, slowly gained ground. They captured cities and established their control. Once Spanish colonial rule was in place, they began to impose new political and religious systems. The ancient Maya ways were systematically suppressed. The Spanish, driven by their own religious beliefs, saw Maya traditions as pagan. They destroyed many cultural artifacts, including the precious Maya codices, the bark paper books that held centuries of knowledge, history, and prophecy. These books were often gathered and burned, an act that erased much of the Maya's written heritage. Traditional practices were outlawed, and the Maya were forced to adopt Spanish customs and the Catholic religion. Despite this destruction and suppression, the Maya people showed incredible resilience. Many communities retreated to more remote areas, deep within the jungles or high in the mountains. There, away from direct Spanish control, they continued to speak their various Maya languages, practice their ancient traditions, and maintain their spiritual beliefs. This quiet resistance and cultural preservation laid the groundwork for the survival of Maya culture, ensuring that their story would continue into the future. The Spanish conquest brought immense change and hardship, but it did not erase the Maya. Instead, their story continued, adapting and enduring through centuries. Today, the echoes of their past are not just found in ancient ruins, but in the vibrant lives of millions of people. Millions of Maya people continue to live across Mexico and Central America. They reside in countries like Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. They speak many different Maya languages, each one unique, and they work hard to keep their rich cultural traditions alive. They continue ancient crafts, perform traditional dances, and pass down stories that have been told for generations. These modern Maya communities often face difficult challenges. Many experience poverty and discrimination in their daily lives. They fight for their land rights, working to protect the ancestral lands that are vital to their way of life and their connection to their heritage. They also strive to preserve their unique cultural identity in a globalized world that sometimes pushes for sameness. Despite these obstacles, their resilience shines through, and there are many ongoing efforts to revitalize their languages, customs, and ancient knowledge. Meanwhile, the field of archaeology continues to play a vital role in uncovering and interpreting the Maya past. Archaeologists still conduct digs, discovering new temples, new hieroglyphs, and new artifacts. Each discovery adds another piece to the puzzle, often challenging what scholars thought they knew about this ancient civilization. These findings provide fresh insights into Maya daily life, political structures, and religious beliefs, deepening our understanding of their incredible achievements. In modern interpretations and popular culture, the Maya are sometimes seen as a mysterious, vanished people, a civilization only of ruins and forgotten secrets. But this is a misconception. The Maya did not disappear. Their culture is a living, evolving force, carried forward by their descendants. It is important to understand them not just as a people of the past, but as a vibrant, enduring culture in the present. The Maya civilization left a profound and lasting mark on human history. Their intellectual achievements, from their complex calendar systems to their advanced mathematics and intricate writing, continue to amaze and inspire. Their artistic beauty, seen in their monumental architecture, detailed carvings, and exquisite pottery, still speaks to us across time. The story of their rise, their resilience, and their ability to adapt teaches us much about human ingenuity and the strength of culture. Their journey is far from over. It continues to unfold with each passing generation. Now, as our journey through the Maya civilization comes to a gentle close, let us prepare your mind and body for deep rest. Allow yourself to settle into a comfortable position. You may softly close your eyes if you wish. Take a slow, easy breath in and let it go softly. Now, bring your attention to your toes. Simply notice any sensations you feel there, perhaps a gentle warmth or a light tingling. There is no need to change anything. Just observe these feelings. Gently let your awareness slowly move upwards through your feet. Feel their weight against the surface beneath you. Continue this gentle scan up to your ankles, then your calves. Move your focus up to your knees. Notice how your thighs rest, feeling heavy and fully supported. Let your attention move to your hips, feeling them sink a little deeper into your resting place. Now, bring your awareness to your abdomen, noticing its gentle rise and fall with each soft breath. Move up to your chest, feeling the quiet rhythm of your body. Allow your focus to spread across your back, from your lower spine up to your shoulders. Feel your shoulders soften, letting go of any tightness they might hold. Let your awareness travel down your arms, through your elbows, forearms, and into your hands. Notice any sensations in your palms and fingertips. Finally, bring your attention to your neck, allowing it to relax completely, and then to your head and face. Feel the subtle sensations on your skin and sense the relaxation in your jaw and around your eyes. Simply observe any feelings of heaviness or lightness throughout your entire body. Consciously release any remaining tension you might find, letting it melt away. Allow your body to feel deeply relaxed, fully supported, and completely at peace. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Stories for Sleepless Nights. It is my wish that this journey into the ancient world of the Maya helped you find rest and gently guided you away from your everyday thoughts. Remember, Stories for Sleepless Nights is available on Spotify and YouTube. If you have a particular topic or story you would like to explore together, please feel free to share your ideas in the comment box. Thank you for joining me tonight. I am Luna, and I hope to join you again soon for another journey into the world of stories. Until then, I wish you a peaceful and restorative good night.